Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. So today I wanted to talk about a little about where we are going with Holy and Mythic Plus, but also about where we've been. In a lot of cases, I haven't taken a lot of time to kind of look in retrospect of where Holy has progressed and where I guess I have progressed in my thinking of what Holy's going through. I know, for example, I was one of the many holdouts, or many of the few holdouts of Apotheosis, where I really was pushing Apotheosis and I was really big on it, and all my guys have been stressing Apotheosis. But we've seen this shift, and the shift was present even when I posted my advanced guide on this YouTube channel, of such a heavy emphasis on Benediction, where Benediction was pulling significantly higher HPS numbers unless you were, God mode and you're posting like really good advantageous moments of having good Apotheosis uptimes. So it really required specific scenarios in order for Apotheosis to be very strong. But with the final progression, I guess you could say, of Mythic Trial of Valor, Apotheosis has really fallen by the wayside. And that's one thing I kind of wanted to stress and I kind of wanted to talk about in terms of where we are right now and where we're going to go to the future, where Apotheosis has pretty much fallen apart and it will continue to lose value over the course of Nighthold as we go into Nighthold and as the patch 7.1.5 rolls around. Because I know they're not perfectly aligned, but I would assume that the patch 7.1.5 is right around the corner, if not on top of us. So that's one of the things I kind of wanted to emphasize, is that Benediction has taken the meta and is taken the meta by storm, pretty much, because it's very low maintenance, it's very easy to work with, it's very simple. You just have to be watching your Prayer of Mending timers. It really raises the value of the Renew the Faith, the Divine Hymn trait, by a huge margin, especially on specific encounters like Garm, for example, where Garm is not one of the encounters that has a lot of like consistent damage, but because of the fact that there's burst damage, it will leave a lot of Prayer of Mendings active, such that when you get the pulsing damage phase of him charging all over the place, or her, who knows, you can cast Divine Hymn, and then you have 3 to 4 different palms hitting everybody at once, and you light up the entire raid full of renews, and it's actually exceptionally powerful. So that was one of the things I wanted to stress, is that Renew / Benediction has really taken the meta by storm in current content because of how mobile the encounters are and the requirements for it, in that you're not able to spend a full 30 seconds turreting in one spot with Apotheosis. So that could be a very big problem. Another big problem is the fact that, well, as more and more people are getting the legendary legs, more and more people are going to Benediction, and more people are benefiting more and more out of it because they have a specific legendary that benefits this specific playstyle. And Apotheosis really doesn't have that, and it's really a bad thing, actually. As we go into 7.1.5 with the Piety change, which I outlined in my 7.1.5 preview, which you can find down below, it's that the Piety change makes Benediction just mandatory. Even though I was really glad that Benediction was getting nerfed by 10% from 50% to 40% chance, the Piety change just makes it so that Benediction just takes over everything, and it really will be the go-to talent, and you'll be taking Benediction Piety for basically the majority of the tier. Maybe there'll be a fight or two where you won't, but for the most part, you're going to be taking Benediction Piety for all of Nighthold. The interesting change, which wasn't specifically broadcasted, was the fact that Trail of Light is no longer going to be counted as Flash Shield. It's going to be its own spell. So Trail of Light is now going to be Trail of Light, which means if it's not Flash Shield, then it will not proc Amalgam 7 Spine, and it will not proc Blessing of Ture, which is a big nerf to Holy Priests in general. More so the Blessing of Ture than Amalgam 7 Spine. So I really hope that Blizzard puts in some kind of change. I would say Divinity should be, the nerf for Divinity should be reverted, so it should go back to its original uptime. And that should be a fitting change, I would hope. But in general, we're kind of walking into a nerf by having that. But it's also, I guess, very interesting to see that there's going to be a big shift. maybe not so much in playstyle, but in terms of how stats are benefiting Holy Priest in a big way. So everything's kind of up for grabs right now. You have the removal, I guess you could say, the fixing of the bug for Blessing of Toure with Trail of Light, where Trail of Light will not proc Blessing of Toure, which means that crit loses a lot of value because Trail of Light, of course, was giving you double chances. So while Trail of Light will still be worth taking, you're not that reliant on crit anymore, or you're not that focused on crit anymore. And now you're focusing on a much more heavy renew playstyle, especially if you have the legendary legs, because of Piety and Benediction and things like that, that haste gets a lot of value. And Mastery starts losing value, even though Mastery is extremely strong in this expansion and in general because of progression healing. So we're finding an interesting scenario where kind of all of the stats are going to be really good in Nighthold. And all of our talent tree is going to be passive abilities. I think the only real active ability that Holy Priest is going to run with in Nighthold is going to be Angelic Feather. And that's going to be it. Every other talent on the talent tree is going to be a passive ability. And I kind of wanted to mention that because I know not everybody was playing Holy in WoD or in previous expansions, but a lot of people were. And it is kind of the antithesis of really what we would like, that Holy goes from having all of these abilities, having Circle Heal as baseline, having Binding Heal as baseline, always talenting into Surge, Divine Star, or Cascade. Or sorry, always talenting into Divine Star, Halo, or Cascade. Right? We talented into one of those. Those are 3 active abilities that are now on the talent tree that we don't talent to. So it's just, it is kind of baffling to me in many ways how much Holy has, I guess, advanced in terms of its raid quality, but it's also devolved in terms of its variety. And the identity of not only being a versatile healer, but also being an effective versatile healer, it's crazy. It's weird because there isn't that variety of spells. There's not that variety of spell casts going on. The system of serendipity is very good, but we just don't have a lot of variety in it. And now we're just flash heal spammers. So I think that's one of the biggest things that's a disappointment from this expansion. We're, I guess, what, 4 or 5 months into the expansion release, and those are the things that start standing out to you as saying what really has been failing in Blizzard's design of the game so far. And to me, that stands out as one of the biggest ones, is that they really failed to provide the versatility, the flexibility of healing that Holy Priests have just had forever. And instead, we're going into a tier where we're going to be using every single passive ability except for one, which is Angelic Feather. Everything else is going to be passive. And it doesn't seem like a problem. I mean, we don't need to have 60 million buttons, but give us Binding Heal. Like, I don't think people care that much about Circle Heal. Leave comments if you do. But I think people really, really care about Binding Heal and really, really want Binding Heal to be back. And that's just one of the things that's just kind of weird, kind of eerie, is that we don't have it back, and we're likely not going to get it back in Nighthold. So here's hoping there's some kind of set bonuses in Tomb of Sargeras that is going to give us something, but we'll see. In terms of what we're going to be seeing in Nighthold in the biggest of ways, we're going to be seeing a very heavy reliance on Renew, on the legendary legs, and we're all praying we're going to be getting them before then, hopefully. We're going to be having a huge reliance on just a Bene Piety playstyle. If we get the gloves, there maybe is a chance of running Enduring Renewal, but I really doubt it. Maybe it'd just be fun as like a meme playstyle, but I think it'd be kind of cool to try out. I wouldn't consider it competitive by any means, but it'd be fun. So the main concern, though, is the fact that if we're headed towards that playstyle, the concerns of are fights actually applicable to that playstyle? And if there are burst encounters, which we just really can't deal with. So that's the biggest question, is we know well in advance how we are going to be intended to be healing, but is that playstyle, is that type of style, is that going to be melding with what we're good at? Like, is our playstyle going to be melding with the raid encounters? So are we actually going to be good on raid encounters? I think Holy is getting pushed up against the wall in many ways, and is being challenged in Nighthold. So I would say stick with it, but we have some stuff ahead of us that makes me apprehensive. I would feel a lot more comfortable if Blizzard buffed Divinity back to its original level for uptime and reverted the 25% nerf. We'll see if that actually happens, but be sure to share this video. I'm going to be working on more videos and stuff like that over the holiday season. Wish you all Merry Christmas. Be sure to like, subscribe, share the video, and everything like that. Love your faces. I'll catch y'all next time.